Okay, we are up to Daf Yud Ches Samid Beis. No, we're not. we're up to a great start. Yud Zayin Amid Beis. 2 lines from the bottom. Okay, so let's just review what we were talking about yesterday. We ended off. Rava had a shaila, and that is, what if an animal pushes a glass jar down a hill, and then it goes and it shatters? Is that considered regel because at the end of the day, the second he pushed it, it was inevitable it's going to break? Or is that tzroiris because tzroiris is usually reserved for a disconnect between your actions and the result? So do you go by the end result, which is very, very far away from you, so that's more tzroiris based, or do you say, no, it's regel because the second you hit it, it was like a broken vessel? Tzroiris is where you're walking and you step on a rock and the rock breaks something. So it's like a step removed. So over here, it's the same item. It's one item, but the item didn't break until it got to the bottom of the hill. So that was the... Oh, so we said Rabbi was confident it was regel. Rava wasn't sure. So that was the question. Rava wasn't sure. So now we're going to quote this brisa. Now this brisa is going to be a very important brisa for today's daf, because the brisa is as ambiguous and cryptic as you can get. So you could just plug in every single option. So Tashema. Hidus einay muad, v'yesh oimrim hareze muad. Okay, there's a machlokes when a chicken hops. Some say you pay nezek shalim, some say you don't. Some say you pay chatzi nezek. That's all it says. Now, stop right there. Now, when a chicken hops, that's very normal. If an animal does something normal, that's regel. So why would there be a machlokes about it? It should be 100% unanimous that hidus is regel, and it should pay 100%. So here's the problem. This brisa brings down a machlokes, but the machlokes cannot be about literally what it's talking about, because
why is it in a mood?
Well, it's machlokes whether it's mood or not. The Gemara's point is that it can't be talking about literally hopping. When a chicken hops, that's very normal. It should be mood. It should be 100% you pay regel. So the Gemara says, okay, so we have to play around with it. This I need a haircut. So the Gemara says, Elav hidis v'hidis. It must be, this is the case. The case is where the chicken hopped on a glass jar, knocked it down a hill, and then rolled all the way down the hill and broke at the base of the hill. Oh, so this shaila of Rava is this machlokes. One opinion says it's mu'id because it's regel, because you go by the initial contact and then it's already considered a broken vessel. And the other opinion says, no, chatzi nezek because it's tzroiris. So this shaila of Rava is this machlokes. So the Gemara says, maybe that's the machlokes. And the Gemara says, no.
The chicken is jumping.
The chicken jumps and hits a glass jar and it rolls down the hill and it hits and breaks at the base of the cliff. Mamish, the Rav Shaila is this machlokes. So the Gemara says, no. Loi, behitis tzroiris. That's the point. Everything, basically, today's daf is you're going to have like a shaila, and you're going to find a brisa that's ambiguous, and you're going to be saying, well, it's probably talking about this. And the answer is, it could be talking about 2 other options, and therefore, there's no solution to anything. So the Gemara says, really, that machlokes with the hopping is not what we thought. We thought, again, it can't be classic where it just hops and breaks something, because that's not a machlokes. That's regel. The machlokes must be where it hits a glass jar and it rolls down the hill. The answer is no. Behitis tzroiris. Really, the case is where the chicken's hopping. It jumps on a rock. The rock shoots out and breaks a window. So what's the machlokes? So remember we had a machlokes yesterday. Chatzi nezek tzroiris is the sheet of the Chachamim. Sumchus doesn't believe in that, which I forgot to check up, which I just realized I forgot to check up. That Chatzi nezek tzroiris is halach l'Moshe Messinai, that it's Chatzi nezek. Sumchus doesn't believe in it. So this machlokes about whether a chicken, when it breaks it, do you pay 100% or 50%, is talking about a case where it shot a rock, it stepped on a rock, the rock flew, broke the glass, and it's a classic machlokes sumchus and the rabbanon. Okay. So therefore, we're not, no conclusion to the shaila of the glass jar rolling down a hill. Okay. Tashema. Let's find another proof. So we referenced this yesterday. I didn't really get it. It's funny. I was a little confused by it at the time. The Gemara now elaborates. The case is you have a glass jar hanging from a rope. Chickens peck at the rope, break the rope, the glass jar falls, and then either rolls and breaks or falls and breaks. It's a machlokes acharon. But let's go rolls and breaks. What's the machlokes? It says nishbar hadli mishal min nezek shalom. You pay 100%. So that's a proof. We're assuming the case is it breaks the rope, the glass jar falls, rolls down the hill and breaks. That's what we assume the case is. And it says you pay 100%. So that's a proof that in the situation where you push it down, that's not sroiris, and it's regular regel, and that's a proof to answer Rabbi's question. Because it says you're paying 100% for the glass jar. Now the glass jar didn't just break right away. It rolled down the hill and broke. It should be sroiris. The answer is no. We trace it back to the actions of the chicken. You see, again, the case of sroiris, let me explain why it's a little ambiguous. Regel is, there's a glass jar right here, break. The cow steps on it, breaks. Clear. Sroiris, the classic sroiris is the animal's walking, a pebble shoots out. So it's, the item doesn't even break directly, and there's like an item in between. This is where the animal hits the glass jar and it rolls down the hill and breaks. So it's a little bit more of a, you understand why, this is Malcolm to Danzach, Malcolm to Din. Do you say, well, it's one item, so that's regel? Or do you say, no, well, it didn't break where I hit it. It rolled all the way down to the hill and then broke later. There was a time delay, there was a distance delay. That's sroiris. So this case, it's plucking at the rope. The item falls and then breaks later. You pay 100%. So you see, it's a raya that in such a situation, it's not sroiris, it's regel. So the Gemara says, no. Targama achevel. Maybe you don't actually pay for the jar at all. Maybe you pay chatzi nezek for the jar, meaning maybe the jar is sroiris, chatzi nezek. When it says you pay 100%, it's you're paying for the rope. You destroy the rope. So maybe you're not, when it says you pay 100%, it's not for the glass jar, because really the glass jar is sroiris. You pay 50%. And what do you pay 100% for? For the rope. So the Gemara says, hachevel meshunahu, wait a minute. Would you pay 100% for that rope? No. What's the rule? If an animal breaks something in an abnormal way, it's keren. Pecking at a rope, is that normal for chickens to do? The Gemara assumes no. Why would a chicken do this? So it's considered abnormal. If it's abnormal, it's keren. You should pay 50% for the rope. So why am I paying 100%? It must be the 100% is not for the rope, it's for the jar. And it's not sroiris, it's regel.
Just say it's more on the rope.
Huh?
Just say
Okay, well, I don't know. They used to do that for everything. I don't know. Oh no, because it's nezek shalom. It doesn't sound like chatzi nezek. No. It wouldn't say because nezek shalom has different halachas than chatzi nezek. Is megufay, not megufay. So the Gemara says, I'll tell you the case. Demos belisha. The cases where the rope is covered in dough. So when they're plucking on it, it's very normal. So it's not abnormal. It's very normal. So you're paying 100%. So really, the jar you pay 50% because it's sroiris, and you're paying 100% for the rope. Here's the problem. Hanish bar delikatani. What does the price say? The glass jar broke. The glass bottle broke. If you're paying 100% for the rope, what do I care what happens to the jar? Right? What do you have to tell me what happened to the jar? If the payment in the brisa is referring to the rope, it doesn't matter what happened to the jar. The jar can be intact. It's irrelevant. So why is the brisa telling me this? It must be I'm paying for the jar. If I'm paying for the jar, and again, what's the case? I pluck the rope, the jar falls, rolls down the hill, and breaks. So you see, in such a situation, it's not sroiris, it's regel, and that answers Rabbi's question. The Gemara says, Ella hanishba delikatani, Ella sumchasi, damit sroiris chat nezek shalom shalom. I can get out of it. Again, we're trying to figure out if I hit a jar and it rolls down the hill, is the jar is it regel? Do you pay 100% or is it chatzi nezek sroiris? This case I pay 100%. So you see, it's regel. The answer is not necessarily. Maybe it is sroiris, and it follows sumchis that says that you pay 100% by sroiris. That's the problem with today's daf. It's like everything that's 100%, it could be multiple options. You pay 100% for this jar. That could be the answer to our question and saying that it's regel, or it could be sroiris, but it's following sumchis that you pay 100% for sroiris. But the rabbis would say you pay 50%. So right now this brisa where it says you pluck the glass and then it rolls and breaks, you pay 100%. There's two options now. It could be you pay 100% because it's regel and it answers our questions, or it's sroiris and it follows the view of sumcha, so you pay 100% for sroiris. So the Gemara says, here's the issue. You're telling me that this brisa follows sumchas. Really, it's sroiris and it follows sumchas, so you pay 100%. But wait a minute. Let's go continue in the brisa. What does the brisa say? Nitaz mimenu shever v'nafal kliach v'shavra al rishon mishalem nezek shalim v'la'achar mishalem nechatzi nezek. What does the brisa say? Chickens pluck the string. Glass jar rolls down the hill, shatters. A piece of that glass flies out and breaks another vessel. I pay 100% for the first and I pay 50 for the second. Now, there's two options how to understand the brisa. The first way is, the first glass jar is not sroiris, it's a regel. So then it makes sense you pay 100%. Then when the glass shoots and breaks out, the second one is sroiris, you pay 50%, 100%, 50%. It makes perfect sense. But now you're saying, no, the first brisa really, it's always sroiris. And the reason why I pay 100% is because it follows sumchas. Then why am I paying 50% for the second one? That's sroiris, and that's like sroiris. That should be 100%, 100%. Why are you paying 50% for the second? If you're interpreting it this way, then if it's always sroiris, then why is there a difference between the first glass sroiris and the second glass sroiris? What's the difference? And the Gemara says, and if you want to say it like this, really it's sroiris, and it follows sumchas, you pay 100%. Then why do you pay 50% for the second glass? Because maybe even sumchas makes a distinction between the first sroiris and what's called like sroiris, like the steps removed. The problem is, Ravashi asked that shaila. Ravashi once asked, what is Sumchas' opinion? You have first sroiris. Again, let's go classic case. Animal's walking, a rock shoots out from the hoof, breaks a window. So according to Sumchas, you pay 100%. Then a shard from that window flies across and breaks the second window. Ravashi said, what's the halacha according to Sumchas? He wasn't sure. But now you're telling me it's pretty clear, the second one you're going to pay 50%. If your interpretation of the brisa is correct, that it's really sroiris, but it follows Ravashi, if it follows Sumchas, that you pay 100%. But then if a glass shard breaks the second one, you pay 50%. So this answers Ravashi's question. So what's he asking for? It must be erase this. Go back to the original interpretation. Again, just to review, we're asking a question. Rava asked a question. I hit a glass jar, it rolls down the hill and then shatters. Is that regular or is that sroiris? This brisa, we said, is mamish talking about that. You pluck the chickens pluck the string, the glass falls, rolls on its own to the bottom of the hill, shatters. The brisa said you pay 100%. And it's not sumchas, throw that out. What is it? It's not sroiris, it's regel. So you see that it's not sroiris. That's the interpretation. Says the Gemara, no. I can get out of it one more time. You know what the case is? Again, we're trying to figure out what happens if you hit a glass and then it rolls down the hill and then shatters. Is it sroiris or is it regel? This case is not that. You know what this case is? The chicken plucks the string, falls on the glass the whole time, and then as it's rolling down the hill, the chicken is pushing and pushing and pushing, and the chicken pushes it into the wall. Meaning it's not a case where Rava was asking a case where the animal hits the glass and then there's a time delay and a distance from his actions and then it breaks. That's not the case. The case is where the chicken was on the glass the entire time. Was it? So it's not sroiris, it's just the chicken was like holding on to it. Literally just like pushing it with its head. He's pushing with its head, and it smacks it into the wall. So it's not a case, it's not related to our shaila at all. Because there's no distance. The chicken was holding on to the glass the whole time, pushing it with its head the whole time. Like he was rolling it down the hill. So it's not a case of Rava Shaila. This is where the chicken was 100% involved. So it's regel.
How much distance do you need for the pizza runner?
It gotta be something. There's no distance at all. The chicken is mamish like pushing it. It's like his body weight is on top of it.
Why do you have to say there was no on the rope?
You could, according to this, you could probably pull that away. Yeah, you could probably, you could undo that. That's the issue with today's daf, is that it's very, you'll have brises and there's like 3 or 4 options for every brisa. So like there's no conclusions on anything. So let's keep going. Okay, that's the end of that discussion. Discussion number 2. To my knowledge, I think there's 3 discussions in today's daf. Let's go to discussion number 2. Boi Rava. Chatzi nezek tzreris megufay mishalim or mi'aliyah mishalim. This is an interesting shaila. Okay, regel, there's no cap. Again, I'll explain it if necessary what that means. Regel, there's no cap, meaning you just pay 100% of the damage. Is it? Keren, which pays 50%, there is a cap. The question is, does chatzi nezek tzreris have a cap or not? On the one hand, it's 50%. 50% usually has a cap. On the other hand, this is a normal destruction, and it's not a knas. So maybe there should be no cap. So the question is there a cap by Chatzi Nezek Tzureres? Again, there's a cap by Chatzi Nezek of Keren. Is there a cap by Chatzi Nezek Tzureres? That's the Gemara's question. The Gemara says, Boi Ravashi, Boi Rava, Chatzi Nezek Tzureres, Meguva Mishalem, Mali Mishalem. Meguva Mishalem, do we say there's a cap to Le'eshkech and Chatzi Nezek Mishalem Aliyah? Like all Chatzi Nezek, there's always a cap. Or Dilma, Mali Mishalem, Le'eshkech and Gorch and Mishalem Gufa. Or do you say, no, there's no cap on regel. So Chatzi Nezek is regel, so right, it's just you're just paying 50%, but it's still regel, so there should be no cap. That's the question. Is there a cap by Chatzi Nezek Tzureres? So we're going to find the brises.
Say that it's a knas, but what's the happening?
No, it's not a knas. Chatzi Nezek is not a knas. So the question is, so because it's not a knas, it's a told of regel, there should be no cap. On the other hand, it is 50%. 50% we're programmed to assume there's a cap. So the question is, again, I'll tell you the case very simply. The chicken's worth $100. It's walking, it shoots a pebble out, it breaks some window worth $10,000. So it pays 50%. So does it pay $5,000? Do you say, no, there's a cap, $100, take the chicken? That's the question. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to have a brisa that talks about having a cap by 50%, that you pay 50%, there's a cap. And there's going to be like 7 ways to get out of it, where it's not talking about Tzureres, it's Keren, or it's Tzureres according to Sumches, and you understand, there are ways to get out of it. Let's dive down this hole. The Gemara says like this. Okay. Tashima, let's bring a proof. This first brisa that we had, that's cryptic. Hiddus eine muad. If a chicken hops, it's not considered muad. You pay 50%. V'yeshayim hareza muad, and some say it is muad. So it's a machlokes of whether hopping is considered regular or not. So we said this before. Hiddus salkadaita. How could hopping not be regular? Of course it's regular. So what's the case? Elav hiddus v'hiddus. It must be the case is where it's walking and it shoots a pebble out. So what's the machlokes? Why does one call it muad and one call it not muad? So the Gemara says like this. Both agree it's tzureres. Both agree you pay 50%. Why does one say muad and one say not muad? One saying you pay, there's a cap, and one says there is no cap. Meaning there's a machlokes over here. There's a machlokes by a chicken hopping. We don't know what the machlokes is. The Gemara says here's the case. The chicken's walking, it shoots a pebble out from its foot and breaks a window. So what's the machlokes? Everyone agrees it's tzureres. Everyone agrees you pay 50%. What's the machlokes? The machlokes is there a cap or not?
Because it's muad, which is Karen.
Well, no, he's just calling it when he says Hariza Muad, he's just saying it's Tzureres, Chatzi Nezek, but it has no cap. Like a general Muad doesn't have a cap. Meaning, when it says Muad or not Muad, they both agree you're paying 50%. They both agree it's Tzureres. They're just arguing whether it has a cap or not.
What is it?
Perhaps.
For cap?
Meaning that means that you don't have to pay more than the value.
I understand, but what is the terminology for muad?
Well, Muad never has a cap. So Muad never has a cap. So Migufa Mishala means cap.
We're only applying Karen, don't we?
Huh?
When we say muad, we only apply that.
No, so right now we're saying the word muad just means no cap. That's what we're saying right now. Really, this machlokes again, they're arguing in a case of a chicken whether it's a muad. So I think muad, I think 100%, I think not muad, I think 50%. The Gemara said no. They both, it's a case of tzureres. They both agree it's a case of tzureres. They both agree tzureres pays 50%. What's the machlokes? The machlokes is there a cap or not?
But we've never said muad in terms of regal before.
No, muad by regal is normal. Muad just means you pay 100%. But now we're saying no. Really, it's 50%, and it's tzureres. So why are you calling it muad? It just means there's no cap. So the Gemara says, maybe that's the machlokes. The Gemara says, lie. No. Everyone agrees. It's not getting involved in cap or not. You know what this machlokes is? The machlokes is as follows. It's walking, it shoots a rock out from its leg and breaks the window. One opinion says muad, you pay 100%. One opinion says in a muad, you pay 50%. You know what machlokes is? Sumchas in the Rabbanon. Is there a thing called Chatzi Nezek Tzureres? One opinion says yes, and one opinion says no. The Gemara continues. Tashima hakelev shenotel charara. Again, we're trying to figure out whether there's a cap by Chatzi Nezek Tzureres. So hakelev shenotel charara. You're baking a cake on the fire. Okay, you're baking a cookie on the fire. So the cookie. So the case is like this: your dog comes, steals someone's cookie, takes the cookie off and sets it down, and then eats it. not realizing on the other side of the cookie there's a little coal, there's a little ember. So he stole the cookie, ate the cookie, and then the fire broke out and he burned down the field. So what do I have to pay, and how much do I have to pay for? I pay 100% for the cookie because that's Shane. My dog steals the cookie that has a coal on the back of it, sets the cookie down, eats the cookie, burns down the field. So I pay 100% for the cookie because that's Shane. But I only pay 50% for the field that got burnt down. What's the reason? My time, it must be because that's considered tzroris, because the animal setting down the coal and then the coal setting the fire and the fire going away, that's already too many steps removed. That's considered tzroris. It's debatable. I wouldn't have thought of that as tzroris, but the Gemara perceives that as tzroris. Okay, so right now you have this brisa says I pay 50% tzroris so far. That's the brisa. There's a second brisa on that brisa. It says, you know what it says? Migufay, there's a cap. Okay, boom. And the Gemara says, Vitani Allah, and the brisa then clarifies, Mishalim Chazin Ezek Migufay. The brisa says that when you pay for the fire, you're paying 50%, and there's a cap. So clearly, if you're paying 50%, it's because it's tzroros, and there's a cap. Boom. So you see there's a cap on tzroros. Here's the issue, though. And this is where we're going to get into a little bit of problems. The problem is, this brisa says that I pay 50% for the fire, and I pay for it, and there's a cap. So that could be tzroros, and there's a cap. The problem is, Rabbi Eliezer disagrees. He says you pay 100%, and there's a cap. Well, what is going on with that? How do you understand Rav Elazar's shita? If you're paying 50% because it's tzroros and there's a cap, then why, if he pays 100%? First of all, why is he paying 100%? Why does
it's regal?
Huh?
The putting down the coal is regal.
No, but why would the no?
A dog picks up a cookie.
No. So, okay, so you want to say regal? I don't know. I don't think it would be regal. I don't know what it would be, but I don't think it would be regal. I don't think it's normal.
It's not shame.
I don't know exactly. Well, that's why it's either tzroris or it might be karen. Maybe it's abnormal. Maybe it's an abnormal thing for him to do, to place down a coal in such a way.
Isn't it just fire?
But because that's a person, this is an animal doing it. You got to find out what category it is. So basically, here's the issue. Right now, we're saying that if the fire burns down, you pay half, and there's a cap. That makes sense. I pay half because it's tzroris, and there's a cap. Here's the issue. Rav Eliezer's shita is I pay 100%, and there's also a cap. So first of all, why am I paying 100%? But even however you understand why I'm paying 100%, why is there a cap? There's never a cap on 100%. Never. The Gemara says, "V'tizbara l'Rav Elazar nezek shalom migufe miyeshkichin." Why does Rav Elazar say you pay 100% for the fire and there's a cap on it? So this is like a riddle. Now what's going on? Ella kegoin deshani. Here's the case. The case is where the animal put down the coal in an abnormal way. I don't know. It pushed it with its nose, whatever. So it's considered keren. That's why you pay half. It's because it's tzroris and it's keren. So you're paying half because it's keren, so it's chatzi nezek. So why does Rav Elazar say 100%? Rav Elazar, savar lakurv tarfin, damar mishuna keren, b'chatzar nizek, nezek shalom mishalim. Rav Elazar follows, really it's keren. It's not just tzroris, it's really keren. The first opinion says because it's keren you pay 50%. Rav Elazar says you pay 100% because he follows Rav Tarfin, that if keren is done in private property, you pay 100%. Okay. See, that's like, I forgot about that one. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. Veloihi. So that could be one answer to get away from it. So again, we're trying to pick a proof that you pay chatzi nezek tzroris. Is there a cap or not? So we found a case where you pay half and there's a cap. So we thought it was chatzi nezek tzroris. The answer is no. Really, it could be talking about a case where it was done abnormally, so it's not tzroris, it's keren tzroris. So it's not classic tzroris, it's actually keren. So the reason why there's a cap is because it's keren. The Gemara says, I could actually get out of it a couple other ways. Veloihi. My time in Mokum is Rav Tarfim Mishum Nezek Shalim. Rav Elazar Savar Kesumches, Damer Tzroiris Nezek Shalim Mishalim, V'Savar Rav Yehuda Damer Tzad Tamus Bim Koima Oimedes. V'Chikatani Megufei at Tzad Tamus. The Gemara says, you know what? I could actually explain it. Go back. Okay, here's the deal. Just focus like this. We're trying to figure out, is there a cap on Chatzi Nezek Tzroris? So we have this case of the fire. Tanakama says you pay half, and there's a cap. Rav Elazar says you pay 100%, and there's a cap. So he said, why am I paying half by the fire? It's tzroris. You see, there's a cap. The problem was, then why am I paying 100% and there's a cap? What's going on with that? So he said, it must be forget that. It's a case where it put abnormally, so it's Karen, and that's why I pay 50%. He's paying 100% because he holds Karen and private property is 100%. Not a good proof. The answer is no, go back. It's Tzoros. And it's a proof that if you do it 50%, there's a cap by Tzoros. So why does Rav Elazar say 100% by Tzoros and there's a cap? The answer is Rav Elazar follows Sumchas. That Tzoros, you pay 100%. Okay? So they both agree it's Tzoros. One opinion says 50%, one opinion says 100%. So why does Sumchas say, though, that if you pay Tzoros 100%, why is there a cap? There's not generally a cap on... the only time there's a cap is on Karen. There's no cap on class. Like other 100%, there's no cap. The answer is, it follows the sheet of Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda holds, and this we'll get to later on, it's not today, but Rav Yehuda holds, I gore the first time, 50% there's a cap. Second time, 50% there's a cap. Third time, 50% there's a cap. Fourth time, I pay 100%, no cap. Rav Yehuda actually holds that the fourth time it gores, half of it there's no cap, but 50% there is a cap. Meaning you'll never, the Tom perspective, the Tom aspect still exists. You just add 50% to it. So if that's Rav Yehuda's Shita, that could also be Rav Elazar's Shita. Rav Elazar holds that when an animal, really the fire is because of Tzroris, and he follows Sumchis, that Tzroris pays 100%. So why is there a cap? The answer is the same way Rav Yehuda feels that there's a cap by a mu'ud. Rav Elazar holds that according to Sumchis, there's a cap as well. The Gemara says, right? Rabbi Yehuda holds there's a cap.
In the category of Karen.
There's a cap. So Sumchis feels there's a cap here as well.
And we're talking about Karen?
No. So the Gemara says, your point, Amalei Rav Sama Bered Rav Ash the Ravina, Amid the Sham the Rav Yehuda betav nasa muad, b'muad mitchilasa, go to the next page, misham and lay. Wait, you're telling me, I understand that there's a concept that there's always a cap. Rav Yehuda Shita is that by Karen the first 3 times there's a cap, and the 4th time there's also a cap. Half of it is capped. I understand that, but to extend that to Tzroris, why would you say that? So Gemara says, okay, here's the explanation. Here's what I'll revamp it one more time. Ela ki kamer Rav Elazar nezek shalim ki gain diyoed ubahaken liflgi mar saver yesh hadalut tzreris umar saver ein hadalut tzreris. Okay, here's the case. Here's the deal. The animal put down the coal, made it a fire. Machloikis. Tanakama says you pay 50% and it's capped. Rav Elazar says you pay 100% and it's capped. Really, it's tzroris. It's tzroris. 50% capped. Proof there's a tzroris cap. 100% capped. Why would there be 100% capped? So we said because there's always, even after, you see from Rabbi Yehuda that after 3 times there's a cap, so it's over here. But you said, this isn't Karen. Here's the case. The case is where the animal did Sroris, but also it's abnormal. So it's Karen Sroris. And this is the 4th time the animal did it. The Iker Machlokes is as follows. Let's say an animal does Sroris that's abnormal. So I'll give you an example. The animal takes a baseball. That's a monkey. Here's the case. It's the case from yesterday. An animal takes a baseball, a monkey takes a baseball, and throws it through a window. What's the punishment for that? It's Karen, because it's abnormal and it means to attack. But it's Sroris. So you pay 50%. What if the animal did it 4 times? Does it stay Sroris because Sroris has its own rules? Do you say, well, no, after 4 times it becomes a mu'ud, you pay 100%. That's the machlekes. So therefore, the case is, one opinion says 50% and it's capped. One opinion says 100% and it's capped. The case is, it's chatzin, it's Sroris Karen that's been doing it 4 times. He's put down this coal. This is the 4th time he's done this. So the first opinion says 50% cap because he follows the view that Sroris can never become a mu'ud. There's no such thing. If you do Sroris 1,000 times, it's always Sroris. So it's 50% and it's capped, and it's a proof that there's a cap to Sroris. Rav Elazar says no, it's 100%, but it's still capped. Why? Because it's Karen. And after 3 times it becomes a mu'ud. So this is the 4th time that the animal did it, so it's a mu'ud. And it's capped because it follows Rav Yehuda that after the 4th time there's still a half cap. If you watch this shir later, I think it makes sense. But I know it makes sense. I'm just saying. I know it could sound like a little gibberish, but that's the machlekes. So the ikar machlekes, Rav Elazar and the Rabbanon, is whether a tzroiris can become a mu'ud. So here's the kasha. Okay, So we've had this cryptic brisa that we've interpreted like 3 or 4 ways, and the last way we've interpreted it is that the animal did chatzi nezek tzroris, keren, it's an abnormal tzroris, and he's done it 4 times. And the machlokes is there, if you do tzroris multiple times, at some point you become a muad. Right? Tzroris generally pay 50%, but if you do it 4 times, do you become a muad for tzroris?
This case is where he has a coal on top of
He put down the coal in an abnormal way, but this is the 4th time it's done it.
Right.
The Tana Kamma still feels, no, Chatzi Nezek is Chatzi Nezek forever. So it's Chatzi Nezek and it's capped. Rav Elazar says, no, 4 times you become a muad tzroris. And therefore it's 100%, but it's still capped because it's carrot.
and capped is the cost of the value of the
Animal.
of the chicken.
Or the dog or whatever. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. So you're telling me the machlokes, so this machlokes is whether Chatzi Nezek tzroris can become a muad. So here's the question. Hadabay Rava, this shaila of whether Chatzi Nezek tzroris becomes a muad if it's done 4 times, that was Rava's question. So doesn't this answer the question? Right? We're saying it's a machlokes. So Rava asked the question. Isn't this answer his question? Hadabay Rava asked the question in another place in this Masechta. Yesh hadalat tzroris, ein hadalat tzroris. Does tzroris become a muad or not? So Ilo Rabbanon ein hadalat tzroris, Ilo Rava yesh hadalat tzroris. So it's a machlokes tanoim. So why didn't he bring this machlokes? The answer is because this machlokes, we've had like 4 different ways to interpret it. So he didn't want to bring this machlokes because yes, this last way that we interpreted it was this way, but there are other ways, right? Again, the machlokes is basically you made the fire. The Tana Kamma says you pay 50% and it's capped. The Rabbi Elazar says you pay 100% and it's capped. So we've had multiple ways to argue. We argued that it was done in an abnormal way and it's a machlokes. He says 50% because it's Karen. He says 100% because it's Karen in private property and it falls with Tarfin. And then we said, no, it's really tzroris, but it's tzroris that you've done 4 times. There's multiple arguments, multiple ways to interpret it. So the reason why Rava didn't bring this as a proof to whether a tzroris can become a muad is because there's 3 different ways to interpret this brisa. The Gemara says, Rava says, I don't like this answer because kimi boy lili didi ali b'derabbanan depol legalad sumchus aval hacha bein l'rabbanan bein l'rava is a kesumchus rilei. David Soros nezek shalom shalim v'time ma'im rabbanan chatzin nezek shani v'loyed put the derf time rabbanan kemiflagi. The answer is because, as Rava pointed out, I read a lot of words. Rava is saying again. Rava is trying to figure out if an animal does chatzin nezek tzroris abnormally 4 times. Do you pay 100% or 50%? That was Rava's question. So we said, isn't this the machlokes? There's other ways to interpret this machlokes. We could interpret it the classic way, the way that we interpreted it originally. The animal puts down the fire in an abnormal way, burns down the field. The Tana Kamma says you pay 50%. Why? Abnormal Karen, 50%. The Rav Elazar says you pay 100%. Why? Abnormal Karen, but it's Karen in private property, and it follows of Tarfin that Karen in private property pay 100%. So it's unrelated to Rava's point. Now, here's one last issue. Let's figure out, this makes a lot of sense. The animal puts down the coal in an abnormal way, so it's Karen. Tana Kamma says if it's Karen, you pay 50%, and it's capped, like all 50% capped. What's Rav Elazar Shita? You pay 100%, and it's capped. Why? Because it's Karen in private property, which according to Rav Tarfon is 100%. So why is it capped? Because in private property, the Rabbanan feels 50% and capped. Rav Tarfon feels 100% and capped. That's what we're saying. So the Gemara just has one quick point. We've had this point, what was it, with Daf Yurches? We've been doing this for 18 Dafim already. We've had Rav Tarfon Shita multiple times that if Karen is done in private property, even the first time you pay 100%. That we've had multiple times. But now you're telling me that he holds it's capped as well. Where do you get that from? Just stamashayl, right? I do Karen in private property. So my animal breaks into your house, gores the animal, first time. I say first time, you pay 50%. Comes Rav Tarfon, he says, no. Private property, you pay 100%. But now we're saying, not only do you pay 100%, there's a cap. How do you know that from? So the Gemara says, this is called dayai. Dayai means that when you learn something out from something, it's not going to be stronger than the original. So let me explain. Where is the source? What's Rav Tarfon's cheshbon that you pay 100% in private property? We'll be done in 5 to 10 minutes. What's Rav Tarfon's source that you pay 100% in private property the first time? Because it's the following cheshbon. It's a kal v'chomer. It makes a lot of sense. Do you pay Shane 100% the first time? Shein and regel? Yeah. Do you pay Shein and regel in public property? Public. No. Do you pay Karen in public property? Yes. So if you pay Karen in public property, Kal v'chomer in private property, you should pay 100%. Meaning if Shein v'regel, which is potter in Rishus Harabim, but it's chayiv in Rishus HaYachid, so Karen, which is chayiv in Rishus Harabim, Kal v'chomer should be chayiv in Rishus HaYachid, you should pay 100%. But his point is, but he's working off the original layer. The original layer is Karen the first 3 times is capped. So he has a Kal v'chomer to extend it in Rishus HaYachid to 100%, but he's not going to go further than the source. The source is Chatzi Nezek is capped, so Nezek Shalom will also be capped. Okay. Well, we'll talk more about this later on in the Masechta. So the Gemara says, for Rav Tarfon Lesle Daya, I thought Rav Tarfon doesn't believe in this concept of Daya. The answer is, Ki Lesle Daya, Hechad Demafrik Kavachomer. Hechad Delay Mafrik Kavachomer Isle Daya. The answer is, he believes in Daya when the Kavachomer will still exist. Basically, in this case, he can hold on to Daya. Daya means that the animal, that it's capped. So he believes in that. If losing that would undo the Kal v'chomer, then he wouldn't believe in it. But over here, he has the Kal v'chomer, which extends it to private property, but he could still honor the original source material, so to speak. The source material is Chatzi Nezek, that's capped, so over here it's capped. So that's his cheshbon. All right, well, let's just finish up, because I know it's getting late. This daf was, this is a Be'in daf. Let's keep going. Gufa, one more sugya. Boy Rav asked the kasha. Yesh hadal tzroiris, ein hadal tzroiris. If an animal does chatzi nezek tzroiris abnormally 3 times, is it now a muad for tzroiris or not? So again, the monkey takes the baseball, throws it through a window. So that's tzroiris, and it's Karen because it's abnormal. Pay 50%. It does it 3 times. Takes the baseball a 4th time. How much is it going to pay now? So do you say, well, it's tzroiris. Chatzin as a tzroiris is always 50%. You say, well, no, he's a muad for tzroiris. That's Rava's question. So,
For that. If he
correct.
tzroiris a different way.
I would assume not, but at least in this form of tzroiris, he's a muad now. Because it's Karen, and Karen after 4 times, after 3 times.
How do you label the animal? Like, what if it's a muad? What if it's a muad? Sure.
I think it has to be a muad for this.
It's for this.
Oh,
right?
that's
it's a muad, sure. And then he tzroiris.
That's a
pebble,
good.
it's chatzin.
I would assume it needs to have done this 3 times. That's a good question. The Gemara says, okay, so that's the question. What's the question based on? Do we look at it as tzroiris has this independent concept that like tzroiris is 50%, no matter how many times it's always 50%? And you say, no, well, it's done this, it's an aspect of Karen, and it's done it 3 times, so it's a muad. So Tashema, back to the original brisa, hidis einai muad. If chickens hop, some say it's a muad, some say it's not. Hidis sol k'tayitach. It can't be just classic hopping, because classic hopping is a regel. Ela hidis v'hidis. Harei muad, my lav kigoin da ovet losa zimni, ubahakim iflagi. Mar saver yesh hada, or mar saver ein hada. The answer is, must be, here's the case. The chicken is hopping, it shoots a pebble out, it breaks. So what's the machlokas? Why does one opinion say 50%, one opinion 100%? The answer is, it's done this 3 times already. This is the 4th time, and the machlokas is whether Chatzi Nezek Tzroiris becomes a muad. The Gemara says no. No, it could be that it's the original first time that the chicken shot the pebble out. It's the first time. And what's the machlekes? The machlekes is, do you believe in Chatzi Nezek Tzroiris at all? It's not that it's done it 4 times. One opinion says it's Chatzi Nezek Tzroiris, you pay 50%. The other opinion follows Sumchis, that there is no such thing as Chatzi Nezek Tzroiris, so you pay 100%. We've had this same back and forth. This is, I think, the 3rd time in today's daf. Let's just finish up. Tashema, one last attempt at a proof. Behema shatila galalam leisa. You have a donkey or a horse that poops on someone's food, which is hilarious. So it poops on someone's food. So what's the halacha? Rav Yudah Mishalim Nezek Shalim. Rav Yudah says you pay 100%. Rav Elazar Mechatzi Nezek. He says 50%. Now what's the machlokus about? My lav kigon David's lasa zimna. Now the Gemara assumes that pooping multiple times is tzroiris because it's like removed. So it's tzroiris. So what's the machlokus about? Must be it's done this 3 times already. So it's a muad for tzroiris. Upahakim iflagi. Marsha savar yesh hada, mar savar ein hada. This is loy. Bechad zimna plugged to the simchas rabbanim iflagi. No. Really, it's the first time, and it's the ikra machlokas of whether Chatzi Nezek Tzroiris is a thing. So wait a minute. The Gemara just wants to know, you're telling me that it's sroris. Sroris is by regel. Isn't an animal pooping on something, like walking over to poop on it? Isn't that abnormal? I mean, the actual act of pooping is not abnormal, but damaging through pooping, isn't that like you're walking? The animal's like walking over to it and like pooping on it. It's an abnormal zach. So how could that be chatan? Sroris is only by regel. Isn't this then keren? It should just be keren. Well, it's not really sroris. It should just be keren. So the Gemara says. Didachik alma. The answer is the cases where the animal is confined basically the animal's in a pen, it can't really move, and you put the food under its tush. So the point is, it's not abnormal because it's not like it walked around taking feces and throwing it at something. It's confined area, so that's normal. It just might be tzroris. That's the chiddush. The chiddush is that it's tzroris, and the Gemara says. So why did they have to say this machlokes? Just say I paskin like sumchus, I paskin like the rabbanon. The Gemara galalim mitzrichalei. You might think that because it comes from the body, it's considered the body itself, and it's not sroiris kamash malan. That because it's being damaged by something that came out of the animal, it's sort of more akin to the animal throwing a baseball than the animal hurting with the body, right? If the animal hurts with the body, it's not sroiris. Over here, it's damaging with something that came out of the animal. So you might think that that's considered like regel, kamashal. No, it's sroiris. I will stop here. I'll pick it up tomorrow.